A boy who has grown up in the forest his entire life is forced to leave when a tiger starts hunting him down. Welcome back to Recap Spot. Today we'll be recapping the 2016 fantasy film, The Jungle Book. The film opens with Mowgli, a young boy raised by animals in the jungle, as he races with wolves to get away from a panther named Bagheera. Mowgli ends up climbing a tree to try and gain some distance, but the tree branch snaps and Mowgli falls, giving Bagheera enough time to catch up and tackle him.
You must be the very worst wolf I've ever seen.
It turns out Mowgli and the wolves were practicing with Bagheera, and Mowgli gets chewed out for not acting like the other wolves. Mowgli heads back to his wolf pack and sits with his mother Raksha, who comforts him about being caught by Bagheera. The wolves then recite the rule of the forest and howl. The film then cuts forward several months to the dry season, and a porcupine investigates the waterhole and finds that the Peace Rock is on the shore. This means that the water level is so low that everyone will make a truce and come to drink the water together without fear of being attacked. Animals of all shapes and sizes come to drink at the waterhole, and many of them are surprised to see Mowgli there since he's human.
Not everyone here has seen a man-cub in the jungle before.
Mowgli uses a shell tied to rope to scoop up some water, and this weirds out a lot of the animals, causing Akela, the leader of the wolf pack, to scold Mowgli for using tricks instead of acting like an animal. Suddenly, a terrifying tiger named Shere Khan shows up, and Akela tells Mowgli to hide behind him. Shere Khan smells that Mowgli is there and says he doesn't belong. Shere Khan tries to say that Mowgli will grow up to be a dangerous man and must be kicked out, but the wolves back Mowgli up. As he leaves, Shere Khan threatens to come after Mowgli once the rain comes and the Peace Rock is submerged again.
Nothing lasts forever.
Time passes, and eventually the rainy season starts. Mowgli sees that the wolves are having a meeting, and overhears that some members of the pack want him to get kicked out, because they're scared of Shere Khan. Mowgli volunteers to leave, and Bagheera says that he will take him back to the man village where he came from. As Bagheera and Mowgli travel through the jungle, Mowgli tries to think of other animals he could live with. Bagheera is frustrated because Mowgli isn't listening to him when he says they're going back to the man village. Bagheera and Mowgli come across a herd of elephants, and Bagheera tells Mowgli to bow to the elephants, because they created everything in the jungle.
What if I live with the Neil guy?
They soon come across an open plain filled with roaming wildebeest, and Bagheera senses something nearby. He tells Mowgli to run and meet him somewhere nearby, but Mowgli doesn't listen. Suddenly, Shere Khan lunges at Mowgli, while Bagheera drives in to protect him, yelling at Mowgli to start running while he distracts Shere Khan. Mowgli takes off, but Bagheera isn't able to distract Shere Khan for long, and he begins gaining on Mowgli. Mowgli runs into a muddy chasm as the wildebeest begin to charge. He's able to get away from Shere Khan by grabbing onto the horns of one of the wildebeest and riding it to safety. Frustrated that he couldn't get Mowgli,
What's important is he's safe now.
Shere Khan heads to the wolf den and kills Akela, hoping that it will make Mowgli come back for revenge. The wolves are furious, but too scared of Shere Khan to do anything about it. Back with Mowgli, he rides the wildebeests for a while, but eventually a mudslide forces him to jump off of the beast and swim to a log for safety. He rides the log into a creepy part of the jungle, where he eventually finds a huge piece of shedded snakeskin. Mowgli then spots some berries and uses a contraption made of vines to get it. But he gets tricked by some cute animals and loses his food. He tries to get his food back, but ends up in a dark and foggy part of the jungle. He suddenly runs into a sinister snake named Kaa, who hypnotizes him and tells him that she knows where he came from. She reveals that Mowgli was brought into a cave in the jungle by his dad.
I know what you are.
His dad made a fire in the cave, which attracted the attention of Shere Khan, who decided to attack Mowgli's dad. Shere Khan killed Mowgli's dad, but was burned by the red flower, aka the fire in the cave, and ran off, not realizing that baby Mowgli was in there. Bagheera then found Mowgli outside the cave and brought him to the wolves to be raised. Kaa wraps around Mowgli while he's hypnotized and gets ready to eat him, but is attacked by a bear. Mowgli is dropped by Kaa and blacks out. When Mowgli comes to, he meets Baloo, the bear who saved him. Baloo says Mowgli needs to pay him back for saving his life, and has him go kick down some honey from a bee's nest.
Payback, kid. Payback.
Mowgli does it by using more of his tricks, but gets stung up in the process. Baloo asks for Mowgli's help in stockpiling food for hibernation, but Mowgli says he needs to get to the man village. Baloo agrees to bring Mowgli to the man village, and eventually they see it off in the distance. Mowgli is upset about leaving the jungle, and Baloo encourages him to stay in the jungle and be himself by using his tricks and inventions with pride. Baloo makes a deal with Mowgli, saying that Mowgli can help him stockpile food for the winter, but if Mowgli decides he doesn't like it and wants to go to the village, then Baloo will escort him down there.
I will walk you right down to that man village myself.
That night at the wolf den, Raksha notices that some of her cubs are playing near Shere Khan, and he threatens to kill one of them. Raksha asks what Shere Khan wants, and he tells her that he wants Mowgli dead. We then see a montage of Mowgli helping Baloo collect food. The two then go floating down a river when they hear a rustling coming from the shore. It turns out to be Bagheera, who still wants to bring Mowgli to the village. Baloo and Mowgli bring Bagheera to their cave, where Mowgli is helping him get ready for hibernation. Bagheera tells Mowgli that Baloo is a sloth bear and doesn't hibernate, meaning Baloo was tricking Mowgli into helping him get food. Bagheera is furious and wants to leave for the village right then, but Baloo convinces him to wait until morning. That night, Mowgli sneaks out and sees a pack of elephants, and it turns out that a baby elephant had gotten stuck in a pit. Mowgli uses some of his inventions to get the baby out, and Baloo and Bagheera see this, giving them an appreciation for Mowgli's tricks. Bagheera tells Baloo that Mowgli is being hunted by Shere Khan, and that Akela has been killed. He asks Baloo to tell Mowgli to go to the man village, so he can be protected, and Baloo agrees, because he thinks it's the only way to save Mowgli.
Please, Baloo.
Baloo pretends to be sick of Mowgli and yells at him to leave. Upset, Mowgli goes up into a tree to mope, and ends up getting kidnapped by a horde of monkeys. Bagheera and Baloo see him being carried off, and race after him, but they aren't able to stop them. They follow behind and see that Mowgli is taken up a steep mountain and brought into a monkey temple. Baloo is terrified of heights, but slowly begins to make his way up to the mountain with Bagheera to try and save Mowgli. Meanwhile, Mowgli is brought into the temple and meets King Louie, the gigantic monkey king. Louie says that he wants to team up with Mowgli because all men can create the red flower, and he wants to use the red flower to gain more power.
You know who I am?
Mowgli tries to tell him that he doesn't know how to make the red flower, but Louie doesn't believe him. Eventually, Baloo and Bagheera make it to the top of the mountain, and Baloo says he has an idea to get Mowgli out of there. Baloo walks in and distracts all the monkeys by saying that he wants to be a monkey, while Bagheera sneaks into the side of the temple to get Mowgli out. Louie notices Mowgli leaving at the last second, and all of the monkeys begin to attack, while Louie tries to chase down Mowgli. Bagheera and Baloo fight off monkeys outside, while Louie chases Mowgli up through the temple.
Stay away from me!
During the chase, Louie tells Mowgli about Akela's death, and Mowgli is devastated. He continues to run and jumps out through a window just as the temple collapses onto Louie and kills him. Bagheera sees Mowgli in a tree and tells him to wait there, but Mowgli confronts him over Akela's death. Mowgli is furious when he finds out Bagheera knew and didn't tell him, and he runs off, saying that someone has to do something. Bagheera and Baloo try to track Mowgli down, but he sneaks into the man village. Knowing how strong the red flower is, Mowgli steals a torch and begins running back into the jungle. As he runs, embers from the torch fall onto the ground and begin a forest fire, although Mowgli doesn't notice. The other animals notice the fire and all quickly head to the river for safety. Mowgli arrives and yells out for Shere Khan, saying that he isn't afraid of him anymore.
No one has to be afraid of you anymore!
Shere Khan shows up and says that now all of the animals are afraid of Mowgli, and Mowgli finally notices the devastation he's caused with the red flower. Shere Khan says that he always knew Mowgli would be dangerous, and he taunts Mowgli by telling him to use the red flower and show everyone what a monster he really is. Mowgli throws the torch in the river and decides to face Shere Khan one-on-one. Shere Khan says that now Mowgli has nothing to protect him, but Baloo begins chanting the law of the forest. Bagheera and the other animals join in as well, infuriating Shere Khan.
What is this?
Baloo and Shere Khan fight, and Mowgli tries to join in. Bagheera stops him and tells Mowgli that he can't fight Shere Khan like a wolf, so he needs to fight him like a man. Mowgli then runs into the jungle and begins setting up a trap for Shere Khan involving a dead tree. Shere Khan eventually breaks off from the other animals to hunt Mowgli down, and he chases him through the treetops of the jungle. He eventually chases Mowgli up a dead tree and corners him at the end of the branch. Mowgli jumps for safety and is able to grab onto some vine rope he made while the tree branch breaks under Shere Khan's weight and sends him falling to his death in the forest fire. Mowgli then finds the same herd of elephants from before, and he brings them over to the river, where they help him divert the river and put out the forest fire. Sometime later, we see Mowgli running through the jungle and helping train the wolf cubs, just like Bagheera trained him. The wolves all gather, and Raksha, the new leader of the pack, begins reciting the law of the jungle, while Bagheera, Baloo, and Mowgli all sit peacefully on a nearby tree and watch. Click one of the videos on screen right now.